Hello and welcome to On the Other Hoof. After a very short hiatus for Royal Ascot Week, we apologise for not being on at all there. We did have some other work that we were doing. We were very busy, but we are back with a bang this week. Newcastle and Newmarket is our focus of attention. Newcastle have their Northumberland Plate meeting. They also have the Group 3 Chip Chase Stakes, as well as a couple of good other handicaps. We have listed action from Newmarket to talk our way through, and I think we'll also be working in some words about the Irish Derby, which is also happening this weekend as well. So plenty of action to get ourselves through. And joining me tonight to go through that action is Adam Webb and Callum Medell. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Evening.
How are we? All good?
Good.
Yeah, it's all right.
This is the first show after Royal Ascot. Callum, we'll start with you. How was your Royal Ascot?
Really bad to start with. Got slightly better. Actually, quite a bit better, to be honest. Overall, it was a good week and an enjoyable week. Most of all, thought it was a really good week, and the international runners really make it for me. So to see a lot of those come over this year, I think was brilliant. And it was just overall a really good week with some fantastic performances.
Well, one of the international performance or international horses that came over really caught your eye with an eye to going forward. Maybe Brazen Bow going forward to the July Cup.
Yeah, I've already backed Brazen Bow for the July Cup, and I think it's his to win, to be honest. But the one probably that's stuck out the most was Acapulco, to be honest. Just a ridiculous performance in what looks a pretty decent Queen Mary. I mean, Eastern Angel, I think, would have won, has run well up to the standard of winning an average race, a renewal of that race, and Acapulco absolutely blitzed it. If she ran in another Thorpe, I think it'd be how far, to be honest, because she's getting 2 stone from the rest of them.
Yeah, it would be interesting because we've also got an American jockey that will be coming over for the Nunthorpe. It's been rumoured that John Velazquez would come over to ride at Acapulco in the Nunthorpe later on this season. Adam, how was Royal Ascot for you? Any luck?
It started off brilliantly in our tipping competition as I led for one race, and then Sean took over at race 2 and led for the rest of the competition and annihilated the opposition. Overall, it was a pretty bad week for me. I'm kind of glad we didn't do the videos. I had moments that was good, but then it was mostly bad. Ugh. A week to forget in selection process, but there were performances that were really top quality, and it was good to see horses like Solo prove themselves. Glen Eagles prove himself as a top 3-year-old miler. I can't wait to see him in the Sussex. Free Eagle, that was a brilliant comeback run. I still think that Craig Hatsby would have beaten him there with a clear run, but they're both 2 horses still to be very excited about.
Well, a fantastic week of racing, as we all say. We apologise that we didn't broadcast at all throughout the week, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. What were your highs and lows of Royal Ascot, and what was your best bet that you landed throughout the week? We'd love to hear from you. On the Other Hoof is our Twitter tag. You can get in touch with us at any time throughout the show. We will read all questions. Any fancies that you may have for tomorrow or Sunday's action coming up this weekend, we will also read out at the end of the show. But we have 7 races to get through tonight for the Newcastle and Newmarket cars, starting with the 2 o'clock up at Newcastle, the Betfred Chip Chase Stakes, a Group 3 over 6 furlongs. Adam Ganzino won this last year very narrowly, holding off Rouet, and comes back here to try and defend his crown. He's 7-4. Could that be a little bit short in a race that maybe looks a little bit better than it was last year?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, his comeback effort in the Temple Stakes behind Pearl Secret was a good effort, considering he probably needed the run, and he'll shape better for the run. But the one I want to take him on with is Matmu, who missed the Commonwealth Cup for this. I know the Commonwealth Cup was a really deep race, but I'd have given Matmu a really good chance in it. So it's interesting that they've come here. I know he's not exactly going to get as much weight, even though he is a 3-year-old, but this is a type of race that I think he'd go really well in. Others to know, I mean, Watchable ran a decent race in the Wokingham. He was drawn, I want to say he was drawn on the wrong side, but there was pace all over the place in the Wokingham, so it was a decent enough effort, and I think the hand is forced to come back into group company as his handicap mark does look high enough. And I just think that Matmu is the one to beat tomorrow. There are others, obviously. Eastern Impact won a handicap at Newmarket. He ran okay last time out, but I think he's one that would be a good handicapper. I don't really see him as a group sprinter, and I think his mark will need to come down before he wins another handicap. So I'm going to go with Matmu. I think he is a big price tomorrow, just compared to Danzino, who I think is a tad short.
Yeah, I'm finding it really hard to try and find an outright selection in this. I'm siding with you with Matmu. I probably wouldn't be having a bet in this race. I'm not the biggest fan of Danzino. I'm not sure why. I just never really signed up to him. I don't really think he's cracked up to be, and he could be vulnerable to a bit of an improver with the likes of Matmu. Watchable, maybe even is going the right way. As Adam said, a good run in the Woking price-wise put him up, and he ended up going off favourite as well. But the form of Matmu's second at York in the Duke of York 2 outings ago on reappearance seems fairly good. It's a bit muddling because there's a few horses that are finishing very prominently that had no real right to be there, but there's been a few that have come out of that race and have run creditably since. His fifth last time was a little bit disappointing, you have to say that, behind Limato. The ground should be fine for Matmu tomorrow, but with David Allen taking the ride at 11-2, I think could be a bit overpriced. As Adam mentioned, it's not really a betting proposition for me. One that interests me at a price, if there was any rain overnight, which she would need it would be Etna at 14-1. Saying that, she does have quite a bit to find on official ratings, but I always think that Etna's a horse that's a lot better than she's really shown so far. She's only rated 104. I still think she's a lot better than that mark. There could be handicaps later on this season to be won with Etna, but for tomorrow's purposes, I'll side with Matmu. I think 11-2 is a decent enough price for Matmu. Callum, are we going to make it a clean sweep with Matmu?
No. Are you not worried about the ground for Matmu?
Slightly. I think he might just get away with it, though. It was fast enough at York when he ran the first time out this season.
I know he goes on it. I'm not saying he goes on it. I just think he prefers soft.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I'm not doubting that. I just think
I think the ground's good to firm there tonight, and there's no rain forecast, or I've just had a quick look and there isn't anything of note. So, I mean, I don't think he's going to get away with it tomorrow, to be honest. So I would be looking against him personally. For all I like the horse, but he does have a slightly disappointing run to come off as well. I mean, he had every chance in that day race. I think everyone was saying he was an each way bet to nothing, and he disappointed for no real reason. So to be honest, I'm struggling to find positives for him around 6-1. I think the market's got it spot on. To be honest, I think Danzino is the one to beat. Last year's winner. I think he is improving. For all I haven't really been taken by him yet, but he has got some decent form in the book. The Temple run was a decent one. For all it was a messy race and he was out of trouble, but he'll come on for it. And if he does, I think he's the one to beat. And Watchable, he's the one to chase him home after that cracking run last week. So it's a no-bet race to me, but I think Danzino will win it.
Yeah, just out of interest, are any of us actually going to have a bet in this? I'm not. Callum isn't. No. Are you, Adam?
Probably not. No, probably not.
Okay, it's a very muddling race. It's a good race, maybe something to point angles towards the future, but for me tomorrow, it's definitely not a betting race for me. That's the Chip Chase up at Newcastle. The next race to cover is the 2:15 at Newmarket, the Marshall Maserati supporting the AHT Fred Archer Stakes. Listed race over 1.5 miles. 5 runners here. I'm going to start with Callum actually with this one. There's only 5 runners, and we were having a bit of a chat earlier trying to get Gospel Choir beaten, but we weren't overly sure with, and we both sided with Doubleday. Whether Doubleday's actually good enough to be beating Gospel Choir, that remains to be seen, but he does come off the back of a really good run behind Telescope.
Yeah, I don't think he's necessarily good enough if Gospel Choir's back to his best, or all well after a significant layoff, because Gospel Choir did look really progressive when he was last seen. He won the Jockey Club in really good style. He beat Tat de Boistron in a strong race at York last time. So if he comes back to that sort of form, then 11-10, he should be winning that. But obviously with the layoff, he's clearly had some sort of injury. There's got to be a small worry that he isn't going to be the same horse. So if you really want to bet in the race, I think Doubleday's the one. I mean, he's really versatile. I thought he ran a really good race behind Telescope, considering he was giving weight to the whole field in that listed race at Newbury. I'd like to see them go out in front with him, because he's got bags of stamina. I mean, he really wants 1 mile 6 at least now. But he's a better horse than Gatewood, and I think he's got a good chance tomorrow. I think he's a little bit underestimated around 4, so I was a little bit tempted to have a bet, to be honest, or at least see him on course tomorrow. I think I might just have a small bet as an interest. But I think he's not to be underestimated.
Yeah, there's no obvious pace in the race either, so it would be interesting if Doubleday could be pinged out in front and try and take advantage of that stamina that he has.
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't see any reason why he won't. I mean, he's usually midfield in his races, but he doesn't Like, he isn't a horse that has to be held up. So I'd like to see him go out in front and really use that stamina to good effect on a stamina sapping track.
I never thought I'd say this, but I would side with Doubleday if I was having a bet in the race. Again, it's another one that I might swerve. But last time at Newbury, I thought Doubleday was just about ready to fall out the back of the TV, and then he stayed on to really good effect behind Telescope, who hasn't exactly performed since. But nonetheless, in terms of this kind of race, finishing that close to Telescope isn't a bad run at all. As Callum mentions, if Gospel Choir does come back or does show his best, then he's going to be a very tricky horse to beat for Sir Michael Stout and Ryan Moore, and the price does reflect that. But this could turn into a bit of a tactical affair. If Doubleday can get out in front and can dominate to put his stamina to good use, then we could just have a bit of an interesting race in our hands. It's not a betting race for me at all, but if I was going to side with one, it would be with Doubleday over Gospel Choir. I agree with what Callum said about Gatewood. I think Doubleday is a better horse than Gatewood. He's had his chances now, and he was a decent horse earlier on in his career, but he just seems to be going the wrong way with the last couple of runs. Adam, are we going to make it a clean sweep for Doubleday?
Yeah. I've got enough reasons to be against Gospel Choir tomorrow. First of all, before he even had his injury problem last year, he's always needed his first run. I mean, remember last year he ran in the Earl of Sefton, and he needed that run badly before he went on to Newmarket again and won the Jockey Club. And I know he's the best horse in the race, but I just can't trust him first time out. I just think he'll need this. And you've also got the question marks of what the injury was and how's he recovered from it. Gatewood, I agree with Callum, I just can't have Gatewood. And his run last time out was really disappointing at Newbury. But Doubleday, he, as you said, stayed on really eye-catchingly that day. And as there's no pace in the race, I do hope they make the running with him. And he would be, if there was a bet in the race, it would be him. I'm copying what you guys are saying, but you all stole my points. So it's Doubleday for me. If Gospel Choir can win this, then fair play. But I just don't see it happening. I think he's too short.
No, as I think we've all mentioned, it would be very interesting if Frankie Dettori can just ping Doubleday out in front and try and make use of that excess stamina that he does seem to have. But we're back off to Newcastle now for the 2:35. The Betfred 6 best odds races daily handicap over 6 furlongs. Lovely name is that one. 16 runners for the moment. So at the moment we have 4 places to play with for each way terms. And Callum, I'll come to you again with this one because there's another one that I know you've liked for quite a while. You're a big fan of Desire Bushranger, and Bushcraft is the favourite here at about 5-1. Will you be following up on your love of Bushrangers?
Yeah, Bushcraft is the first likeable bushranger to ever exist on this planet. He's got such a lovely attitude, Bushcraft. He's battled on so well to win his last 2 starts, but he's also got a real hint of class with him as well. You know, both those wins have been at Windsor. I was really impressed with him last time. I thought he did it really nicely, and I'm expecting another big run tomorrow, to be honest. I think I'll probably back him around 5-1, to be honest. Anything big, I will definitely back him. I think around 6-1's a good price. Other options, Tanzil I think is a bit short considering it's his return. He could be pretty decent, but you know, his return is that win at Yarmouth wasn't a strong race. There is a little bit of pace on in this race, so it should be quite a decent test. Major Jack is a total cliff horse of mine, but I've kind of given up with him now. He's had his chance. Barnet Fair, I know you're going to talk about, Luke, and he's one that's really on my radar at the moment because he's dropped to a good mark. I think he's around the same mark as when he won the consolation race at Goodwood. Stewards Cup consolation, sorry. But I've got a feeling he's got other aims, to be honest. I think there's aims next month and at Goodwood again that I think will be aimed at rather, and this being as a stepping stone towards it. But he's definitely well handicapped to go well. But for me, I do like Bushcraft in this. I think he's got a really good chance, and I can't get him out of my head and will end up backing likely.
It's a very open race. There's 2 that I like more at prices. I completely respect Bushcraft, but Barnet Fair is one that I've had in mind for a long time. I just don't think he's a 5 furlong horse anymore. I said it last year before he went and won the Stewards Cup consolation race, and he did well over 6 furlongs that time, but he's been running really well in some very good 5 furlong races. He was unlucky in the dash when he was one of about 1,000 horses to not get a clear passage and stay on all too late, which he does quite a lot over 5 furlongs. And then last time out, as one that we spoke about I think it was about 2 weeks ago now. The race behind Red Baron, when Red Baron actually broke the course record, the pace didn't stop that day. They just went from the front. They stayed there. Only a couple of horses got into the race from the back. Barnet Fair was one of them. I think Online Alexander was the other one. But to be beaten 5 1/4 lengths by a horse that's gone from the front and has set a new track record up at Mosselborough, which can be fairly lenient towards the front-running types over the 5 furlong course, I think was a huge run. And stepping up to 6 furlongs isn't a negative whatsoever. As Callum mentioned, he's very close to that mark that he won the Stewards Cup consolation race off last year. He's £2 higher, but bear in mind that Cam Hardy was claiming £5 on that occasion. Another one that I wanted to throw into the mix is a horse that I tip up quite a bit on the other hoop, but I never actually back, is Kimberella, who's stepping back up to 6 furlongs, which is probably his better trip, but it's quite notable that he's got cheek pieces for the first time. He's very, very leniently handicapped on his old form. He ran pretty well behind Lexington Place last time, finishing third, not being beaten all that far at all. Lexington Place, I know, is a horse that Callum likes very much, and is a horse that was probably very well handicapped on that day. But if you go to the form of that race before Ayr last time at York, Monsieur Joe just held off Red Baron. That form is looking very, very strong now. Monsieur Joe's franked it, Red Baron's also franked it, and finished 4th in a race like that over 5 furlongs, which may or may not be his optimum trip. I haven't quite worked out what his optimum trip is yet. Then Kimberella could be fairly attractively handicapped back over 6 furlongs with cheek pieces on first time around 14 to 1. That's well worth an each way bet, as is Barnet Fair at 10 to 1. But like I mentioned, a lot of respect has to be shown to Bushcraft, who is the 5 to 1 favourite. Adam, go on, you can have a chance to talk now.
I agree with the comments on Bushcraft. He deserves to be favourite. The 2 wins at Windsor have been impressive, and I don't think a mark of 93 is beyond him, and he is probably the one to beat here. I will talk about Barnet Fair as well. I think his best trip is questionable. I think it's it's between 5 and 6, obviously, but I think a stiff 5 at Ascot is ideal, which is that race in July, the one where me and Luke saw him last year, and he looked an absolute picture. And he didn't win that, and then he went to Goodwood on the Saturday and won the consolation race. I think they're probably the 2 races I've got in mind again, and then he'll be badly handicapped again, and he'll go around the cycle again. But the one that I do like...
Let me just throw this one bit at you. He wins tomorrow, gets into the Stewards Cup, and then goes there after a little break.
He could do that, but I don't think he'd be good enough in a Stewards Cup. I know it sounds silly, but I just don't think he'd be good enough in a Stewards Cup.
It could just be, though, that Connections, after winning the consolation race last year, want to have a crack at the big one this time around.
Maybe.
Potentially. It's an idea from Luke Elder that very rarely works.
I don't think he can win tomorrow, though. I just don't. I'm still not convinced he really sees out 6 furlongs on a track that isn't really sharp like Goodwood. Like I have him down as a proper 5.5 furlong horse. Like he needs stiff 5 or a sharp 6. That's why I think he's got better targets to come.
I don't know. I just. Sorry, Adam, we're talking over you. I don't know. I just don't think he's a 5 furlong horse at all anymore. I didn't think he was last year. Stepping up to 6, he seemed to perform pretty well. That's my view on it anyway. I'll probably be proved very wrong tomorrow, but I don't think he's a 5 furlong horse whatsoever now. He seems to be staying on all too late in the day over the minimum trip. I think 6 furlongs is really what he needs. Adam, back to you, sir.
The one at a price that I do like is a horse that I put up in the consolation race last year, and he didn't run because he caught the eye Ascot. It's a horse called Sure Step, who then went on after that, and I completely missed him on his next start at Doncaster, which he won at a big price. And he wasn't disgraced behind Eastern Impact on his return. And in I want to say a weaker race, I thought the Newmarket handicap looked particularly strong. This is a strong enough race for its type, but I don't think it's the strongest. And I think Sure Step, going from the front, I think he could easily outrun his odds of 12 to 1. He's a horse that I'm wanting to keep on side because I still think he's better than his mark. But yeah, the selection would be Sure Step.
Again, it's another very, very good race up at Newcastle that adds to what should be a brilliant Northumberland Plate Day card. We're back down to Newmarket, however, for another fantastic race. The 250 is the Betfair supporting the Animal Health Trust Empress Stakes, a fillies listed race over 6 furlongs. We've only got 7 runners here, Adam, but I believe that we are all agreeing on one horse.
This is the theme of the day, isn't it? We're agreeing on every single race. So it's not going very well. The one that we all agree on is White Bullet, who, for her first start in a listed contest behind Delizia, I thought she ran really well. And Kevin Ryan has been in really good form of late. He was very unlucky not to have a winner at Royal Ascot, and his yard is in fine form. And I just think that she's the type of filly that's got improvement to come. And I just think she is the one to beat here. I mean, Katie's Diamond, I'll let Luke expand on a bit, but she's a bit of a nutcase at Redcar, even though she won nicely and has since been bought by Qatar. But I just think that White Bullet she's got a lot. I think she's got plenty of scope to come and plenty of improvement left. And to her to be third in a listed contest on debut, considering it was her debut effort, and considering she was against experienced horses, I thought it was a really good effort, and I think she's the one to beat.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying, Adam. Just to elaborate on the horses, that he was unlucky with that Royal Ascot. He's had three main ones with the Grey Gatsby, Ashadean, and Irene that went very close in the Windsor Castle on the first day. He's been in fantastic form. He's had a few winners out of his last, I think, 5 runners. I think he's had 3 winners or something like that. Don't quote me on that, though. But White Bullet is a horse that me and Callum saw at York in the Marygate first time out, and it was notable that they had started her off in a listed race. She could also have gone to a maiden now after finishing third to Delizia, who ran well enough in the Queen Mary. Ran a lot better than I originally thought, because I thought I saw her fall out the back of the TV. But she went on to finish 8th, and Silk Bow, who was second in the Marygate, finished 14th in the Queen Mary. So that form isn't too bad, but I still think that over 6 furlongs, White Bullet is going to be the best of those in time. She was very green on debut, but in the parade ring before, she looked a very compact and very well put together 2-year-old. She's not overly big, but she does look like she will be a pretty good 2-year-old. She also looks as if she would come on for that run, as she suggested throughout the race. She was a little bit keen, she was a little bit unbalanced, and it just looked like a typical debut. So to stay on to third over 5 furlongs behind the likes of Delizia, I thought was a very good run. Coming here to Newmarket for a race like this as well, it shows the confidence that Connections have in her. She was also, I think she was bought at the London sale, wasn't she? The Goff sale. Am I right in saying that?
White Bullet.
Yeah, I know she was entered, and she's in different colours here, so I'm going to put 2 and 2 together and say that she was
withdrawn. She's withdrawn.
Oh, she was withdrawn. Okay. Well, she might have been bought privately, because she's in very different colours here than she was on debut at York in the Marygate. But at 3-1, I think she'd be the bet to have. Katie's Diamond is one that I didn't really recognise when looking at the race card earlier on. That's because she made her debut for the Ontour Winner Syndicate, won really well up at Redcar on debut. But she comes with a bit of a health warning, as she is an absolute nutcase. She pulled for about 4 furlongs off that trip up at Redcar. Then once she was asked to go, she was very impressive and lengthened very nicely. But in this kind of race, would she get away with that against a better standard of filly? I'm not so sure. And at 2-1, I'd be willing to take Katie's Diamond on for that front. I'm also going to apply the Callum Medell logic that he told me a long time ago, and that never trust a filly that has to wear a hood on her debut.
Yeah, that's the deciding factor, isn't it?
That's what's completely put me up. no, but
why though? Can't you? I mean, the way that she pulled early on in that race, you can see why they put the hood on her.
Well, it wasn't even that she was just pulling. It was almost that she was uncontrollable at stages. She was very, very keen. I mean, granted, it's her debut and she will come on for that, and hopefully she will have learned a lot from the initial test. But will she improve that much? I'm not 100% sure. So for that reason, I would be willing to side with White Bullet, who I have been waiting quite eagerly for to see her run once more after York. Callum, have you decided between Katie's Diamond and White Bullet?
I think it's quite tough, to be honest, because I don't really know what we're going to expect from either of them, because White Bullet was so green on debut, it was ridiculous, and she might even be green again, on a track like Newmarket, back stepping up to 6 furlongs. She could easily be green again, but it was a really promising debut, albeit I did think it was a very good race at the time. It looks a really scrawny bunch in the paddock, and results, even though Delizia ran okay in the Queen Mary, I still think it was a very modest run, and it's modest form. Katie's Diamond was visually very impressive at Redcar. She probably didn't beat much at all, but she was very visually impressive. I don't think Bournemouth Bell beat anything at all at Goodwood either, but she did it well enough. So it is a watching race for me, watching brief. If I did tip up something, it would be White Bullet, but mainly because I do think she's a very nice prospect, but I do have the suspicion she might just need it again. and it might just catch her out. If I didn't have those worries, I would be quite keen on 3-1, but it's enough for me to put me away.
And Callum Bedell will be at Newmarket on the July course tomorrow, so if you cast your eye on Twitter before the race, he will be telling us all with his expert eye how they look before the prelims.
Yeah, that's your job. If I get on Periscope or something and then film it.
just send me 10-second Snapchats. Good? No? Okay. But Callum will be tweeting his expert opinions, I'm sure. Actually, no, you won't, because there's no coverage at Newmarket.
Is it not?
I don't know. Is the July course different? I know the Rolly Mile you can't get internet.
Oh no, the July course is fine. July course is good. Yeah.
July course is fine. Fair enough. But it is a good race to look forward to. And before we get sidetracked too much, we'll go back off to Newcastle for their next race, the 310, the Betfred membership Play Your Way handicap over 7 furlongs. 14 runners here, Adam, and an interesting one at the top of the handicap in Zarwan, who's tackled some pretty big handicaps along the way. Has his sights lowered quite a bit here off a mark of 102.
He's threatened since last year to win a big handicap, and he was in the Wokingham last week, and they pulled him out because they said the ground was too quick, which I did question at the time, but then Ed Dunlop had warned if there wasn't sufficient rain, because Ascot didn't water, then they would pull him out. And the way Red Cadeau ran, they decided then they were going to pull him out. With his sights lowered and back at 7 furlongs, I think he's interesting, definitely. But I think the price is short enough when there are others in the race that I think are of more interest. Russian Realm is one of them, but I'm not a fan of the horse. And the ride he got on his return in the Victoria Cup verged on ridiculous. It was a ride that raised a few eyebrows, and rightly so. And he's going to threaten to win a race. He's now with David O'Mara, obviously, and David O'Mara is improving horses left, right, and centre. And he seems to be one that's benefiting from that. And he wouldn't surprise me if he won tomorrow, but it's just a horse I've never liked, and I wouldn't ever consider backing. One that I've considered backing is Barrowees, who's back at 7 furlongs after his effort in the Hunt Cup last time out. And he was on the wrong side of the track as well, and he ran okay. And I think he's more of a 7 furlong horse than than a miler. And I just think that tomorrow could be his day. Brian Ellison's in flying form at the minute as well, so he's interesting. And I'm going to give Bond's Girl another go, because last time we were on, I said that she didn't stay 7 furlongs, yet got outpaced over 6 furlongs. So either she's tripless, or she actually does want 7 furlongs, and that run at Ascot was just too bad to be true behind Mr. Universe. And she's a big price again, because I thought she wasn't completely disgraced at York last time out behind Twilight Sun, who ran, even though I said the ground had gone against him, and he still won. He's a very, very good horse. So I'm going to go with Barrowees and Bond's Girl each way. She's a big price, I think.
Didn't you nap Bond's Girl last time out?
Yes, I did. Just because she was a big price, and I wanted to get my on the other hoof naps record back up to even, and it's not at even at the minute. Oof.
I don't think it even got it to even, to be honest.
Shut up.
You need a miracle for that to happen, buddy.
Yeah, I do.
I personally have found this race really, really hard to go through. I picked out 2. One of them not for tomorrow because the ground's going to be too fast. That's Sir Robert Cheval, who has run respectably the last few times for the Marco Botti yard. Martin Harley takes the ride, but his eye-catching run was behind Basil Berry, who was 6th at Ascot 2 outings ago. That was off a £2 lower mark. He ran here last time came 4th, but got going all too late on that occasion, and the ground again was possibly too fast, but the trip's going to be no problem for him. I'm just saying, for the future, maybe a softer ground would be one to put in. For win purposes, I have absolutely no idea at all. I agree with Adam that Barrowees could potentially bounce back to some form, especially Cheek Beast first time, but there's a horse that I'm going to put up each way, and Callum's going to hate me for it. It's Bertie Whittle, who's been running a lot better than his placings actually suggest. He ran a hell of a lot better than his 7th suggests at Chester when he had a poor draw. He had a horrible trip the whole way round and stayed on quite nicely later in the day. The last run he was never in it whatsoever at York behind Gillotta, but he's slipping down the handicap. If David Barron can get any kind of improvement out of him at the ripe old age of 7, with Graham Gibbons on board at 16 to 1, he could be an okay each way price. But I think more than anything, that's just pointing towards how little of a clue I have for what's going to win this race. It's a really tricky handicap to get our way through, and basically, I'm just hoping that Callum Liddell has more of an idea than I do.
No, sorry, mate. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's not a handicap I'm getting really excited about, to be honest. Zarwan dropping in class is of obvious interest. I think the trip and everything would be fine for him, to be honest. But I think I could probably leave him at 11-2. I don't think he's necessarily a bet at that price, although he could easily outclass them. Russian Realm constantly underpriced, but he's with David O'Mara, so he could easily fulfil the potential that he promised last year with Sir Michael Stout when he was constantly going off silly short in really competitive handicaps. I thought he shaped really nicely last time, to be fair, behind Firm Decisions, who's been in quite ridiculous form. Bar that, it's just going to be Foxtrot Romeo again, is it? No, it's not going to be Foxtrot Romeo. Nearly thought that, didn't he? I think he was third in this race last year. If I was,
he was. He was price-wise in this race last year.
And I think, yeah, Raw Ross was in second. I was thinking a different race, but the one I quite like, and it's not a strong fancy, but he shaped well last twice this year, is Red Pike. Shaped quite nicely behind Basil Berry at Ascot when probably just needing the run. And last time, under different tactics, he ran on well behind Muckmal in a race in a day when nothing made up ground at Newmarket. So I think if they go back to more prominent tactics tomorrow, which there's not much pace on, there's certainly not a guaranteed front runner. If there is one, it's him. So I think he could run well. Around 11-1, I think that's a good each way price. I'd be surprised if he's out the 4.
Yeah, as I think we've all mentioned, it's a very, very tricky handicap to get our way through. Good luck if you're getting involved in that race up at Newcastle. We're back off to Newmarket, though, for the 325, the John Sunley Memorial Criterion Stakes. The Group 3 over 7 furlongs. 10 horses go to post here, and the highest rated ever Bushranger officially it runs here with Outback Traveller. So without that, we have to go to Callum, Bushranger's biggest ever fan as a side. Jeremy Nacida teaming up with Jamie Spencer here. Callum with Outback Traveller. How do you rate his chances?
I think every other horse has got a better chance. No, I don't, but I don't fancy Outback Traveller in this. Again, it's a really tough race. This Wanna Be Yours is a horse I put up as a horse to follow last time, and I backed him last time at York, and he was just way too keen. So they're dropping him back to 7, which I can understand. It's just the ground. He has one on Good to Firm, but Gosson's saying he wants a bit of rain. I'm not sure I could back him tomorrow, to be honest. The one, if I didn't have such a love affair with Wanna Be Yours, the one that would stick out for me is Code Red. I don't think there's any fluke at all about that Epsom win. I thought he won it really well. And, you know, he's a 3-year-old getting weight. He's more of a 7 furlong horse for me than what Order Combat and Wanna Be Yours is. And I struggle to find the negative unless he does unless the ground is too quick for him as well.
Well, that's a beautiful shot of Callum. That's a beautiful shot of Callum's face. We were warned that Callum's phone may overheat. That is a wonderful, wonderful freeze of Callum, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. We apologise for that. We may get Callum back at some point. If not, it's no real biggie. I really hope you guys can see that picture because that's wonderful. I will pick it up from here, I think. He was talking about Code Red, who is going to be my selection for the race. I think he won really well last time at Epsom, as Callum mentioned. Absolutely no fluke about that whatsoever for the Willie Muir yard. He's 4-1, which I think is a fairly big price. As a 3-year-old getting all that way from horses that now have something to prove. Order Combat was beaten quite a way last time out, albeit in a much, much stronger race in the lock-ins behind Night of Thunder. But he was a bit disappointing for me. I thought he'd run better than that. Before that, he was absolutely no match at all for Maharib, who for some reason on that afternoon decided to perform to about 124 and then go back to his usual ways after that. But I still think Order Combat's got a little bit to come. 7 furlongs, I think, is absolutely fine for him. There's no worries about that. Callum's officially gone now. We'll hope to get him back at some point. But Order Combat is a horse that I still think there's a little bit left to go with him. But at 3-1 tomorrow, I think I'd happily be leaving him alone. Outback Traveller's a horse that I quite like, but I'm not really sure he's up to this class, especially with a couple of improvers with the likes of Code Red in the field, and that will be the one that I side with. Just one more line about Wanna Be Yours that Callum alluded to. He said he put it up as a horse to follow, which a lot of those have gone astray this season. Apologies, Callum. But Wanna Be Yours was very, very keen last time out and was beaten a long way in a race that you'd hope that he'd be taking a much closer aim in. That was over a mile behind Top Notch Tonto. This is now back to 7 furlongs, which will probably help. He just does have to settle, though. So there are some quite big negatives about Wanna Be Yours tomorrow. He will have to answer quite a few questions for me, and he's best left alone. But for me, Code Red will be the bet in the race. I think 4-1 is a huge price. About a horse that could still be a lot better than he's shown. And let's not forget, he didn't run that badly in the 2000 Guineas behind Glen Eagles. He's only beaten 10 lengths, and that form seems to have been franked by quite a few in the race since. So Code Red for me with the team of Martin Dwyer and Willie Muir at about 4-1. Adam, over to you.
I agree with you on Code Red because all the combat, as we said, I think he's more of a miler. The ground is more in his favour because at York we were worried about the rain, and the rain came and he was taken out. Wanna Be Yours was in that race. I still think, even if Wanna Be Yours hadn't been keen, I still think he'd have had to put up a career best to beat Top Notch Tonto. Top Notch Tonto was really impressive on that day.
He's back, Callum. He's back.
Code Red.
My phone died.
Yeah, the image of you was brilliant. You have to watch it. You have to watch it back in a minute. But yeah, Code Red, he was really impressive at Epsom, and as Callum said, it was no fluke. I don't think it was either. And the Guineas form is working out, and I think he's the one to beat. I will mention Marquez. I don't think he wants 7 furlongs. I think he's a sprinter, an out-and-out sprinter, and I don't get why they're persisting with him at 7 furlongs. Others in the race, I'm not going to mention Emel because he wants a big field handicap with them blinkers. The blinkers have brought about improvement, but I think he wants to be... He's a classy handicapper, I'd say. I don't think he's an out-and-out group horse, so I'll be interested in him when he goes back into handicap company. Outback Traveller, I don't really see winning. I just think group company is not really an area I thought he'd be interesting in. But yeah, I'm going to go with Code Red.
Yeah, Callum, were you going to tip up Code Red before your impromptu departure?
Yeah, probably, but yeah, it's probably a race I'll leave, to be honest.
Yeah, we did have a tweet from, I think it's Phil Dinsdale, on your little freeze frame image. Yeah, Phil Dinsdale saying you look like something from the Beatles.
Is that a good thing? I'm just watching now, to be honest. It's just me frozen.
Yeah, it depends which one. I'm sure a few of them look a lot better than the others now, to be honest. That's very...
That's me.
I apologise for that. That was very ill. That was very ill taste. I apologise for that. But thank you for your tweeting, Phil, comparing Callum to a Beatle. He doesn't sing like one. I have to say that. But the 3:45 at Newcastle is the feature race of the day that we're going to be showing on Channel 4 anyway. We have the Irish Derby coming up later on in the evening, of course. The John Smith's Northumberland Plate, a heritage handicap over 2 miles and 19 yards. And let's not forget, the last time that the Northumberland Plate will ever be run on turf at Newcastle, it will be switched to all-weather as from next season. The top weight in this one, Adam, is a very, very intriguing candidate. He's got to give £10 to his closest pursuer. That's Clever Cookie, who looks to be the class horse in the race, but giving this kind of weight away over 2 miles could leave him a bit vulnerable.
I said to somebody yesterday that I could actually see him carrying the weight and winning this, but on softer ground. I think the ground will be the concern. If there was rain overnight, I'd be more sweet on his chances. I know Price-Wise has gone for him, but I just think on the ground it could even be a non-runner tomorrow. I mean, they've missed the Ascot Gold Cup because the ground was too quick. And if they do run here, it's telling that they want to run him in a really competitive handicap, even though he's got to give that much weight away, because he is a seriously good horse. I didn't think he'd win at York last time, and that was a really good performance. But he can win off this mark, but I don't think he will because the ground will be too quick for him. Quest for More, since he's gone up in trip, has been a revelation. I thought he won nicely at Goodwood last time out, and has tackled 2 miles before at York when he was second, so I think he's got a winning chance. Seymour won nicely as well at Haydock last time out in a competitive 2 mile race. It's a shame Noble Silk's not here because I really liked him for this, and he went for the Ascot Stakes, which bring me on to something afterwards. So ask me a question about the Northumberland Plate because I had an idea with it. the selection, I'm probably going to side with Seymour because I really like that Haydock win last time out. And if there was rain, I would have gone for Clever Cookie even on top weight. But apart from that, the market of this race is just, I don't like it because there's so many horses just grouped together, and it's just a really difficult race to have a bet in, I'd say. Normally in a big handicap, you've got so much where you can so much variety, but you've just not. If there was rain as well, I did like Swimming, but unfortunately the ground's too quick for him, so it's a shame really, because I liked him in the Cesarevich last year, and the rain didn't materialise, and he ran a stinker, so it's still one of them races. I like Seymour, who's the one to beat for me.
So I've just been completely sidetracked. I looked down and Callum Liddell was at a 90-degree angle. I'm sorry.
What I do. It's how I roll.
It's just one of them Callum Liddell moments. He's just crazy. You don't know what he's going to do next. He just does what he wants, really. He doesn't care. Like, just leaves the cool.
Needs to get this video done before I make a total mockery of it. So.
You've already done that, mate. Well done. The Northumberland Plate. Let's get back on track to that. I'll go next. I don't think Clever Cookie is not that well handicapped. 114 for this kind of race, I think, is a really big ask, especially on the ground, as Adam mentioned. I'm also not 100% sure that he's the strongest of stayers in the world. He ran over a mile and 6 last time. He ran well, and he won very nicely, but he came there looking as if he had all the running left in the world. He hit the front, and he didn't really go on as if he had that much left ahead of Nabati, and he ran a good race that day, incidentally, as well. I'm not sure about Clever Cookie over 2 miles. I don't know if I'm being overzealous with that, but he was also entered in the Ascot Gold Cup, which I don't think he's got a hope in hell of staying that kind of trip. Saying that, he is a winning hurdler, so he does have a lot of stamina in him. But off this weight tomorrow, I think he's got a big ask on his hands. One that I found interesting was Amanda Perrett's horse, Blue Surf. It's interesting that Amanda Perrett sent a horse all the way up from her Sussex base up to Newcastle. She doesn't often travel her horses all that far, so she must think that Blue Surf's got a huge chance after winning well at Epsom last time out at fancy odds. He's 14-1, but off a mark of 102, I'd be happy to leave him and just have him as a watching brief. And the two that I picked out were, if you were watching, was it 35 days ago, apparently, for our Haydock previews, I would have tipped up these two horses as well. They both ran pretty well. One of them was, well, both of them were behind Seymour. It's Nearly Caught is one of those at about 14-1 again. I was at the time disappointed with his performance. He had the run of the race. He was sitting pretty the whole way round. He kicked on maybe a little bit too early and didn't really do a great deal in front. But watching it back, he was the only one out in the centre of the course, and he didn't really have any company there at all, whereas Seymour was coming up the far side rail, and he had the rail to help him as well as a few closers behind. I just feel that Nearly Caught might have been getting a little bit lonely from about 2 furlongs to half a furlong out, which is where he really lost the race. So I'd be willing to give him another chance with Rab Havlin, Adam, on board. Off a mark of 102, I still think he has a race in him. And the other one is Montefeltro, who was once an Irish Cesarevich winner. He was off for about 570 days before his second to last run. He's been running okay. He was a long way behind Clever Cookie on reappearance. The softer ground was to blame for that also. Off level weights, he probably isn't up to that standard whatsoever. But off a mark of 96, I can see him going fairly well. He ran a lot better than his placing of 9th suggests last time. That was again behind Seymour, and he was just getting the hang of things once again, all too late in the day. And it was a possibility that he might have just needed that run as well. So hopefully he can go well tomorrow. I'm just seeing there's a lot of money for him around tonight as well, which from the Brian Ellison yard, that's always something to watch out for. I expected him to be price-wise. He was not price-wise at all. So it'll be interesting to see where this money's come from. It's good to see Robert Tart still getting a big ride as well. He's a very underused jockey, I think. He's just one of those that have gone through his claim a little bit too fast and is struggling for a few rides now. But Montefeltro at a price, along with Nearly Caught, really would be my two each-way plays of the race. Callum, as long as you don't cut out, you can have a chance to talk.
Tough race, really tough race. I'd be amazed if Clever Cookie was good enough to win it. It will need a truly monumental performance. I mean, it would probably have to equate to something, something that Trip to Paris would have to run to win the Gold Cup last week. So for him to win this off a mark of 114 on this ground, and there's no rain forecast. So for all I think he's a very, very good horse. I think it's way too much to ask for him. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I'd be amazed if he did it. Quest for More's an improving sort. I think he's going to improve again. So he's went up 8 for that Goodwood win, where not much got into it. Him and Oasis Fantasy, I could definitely see the angle for both. Oasis Fantasy was arguably unlucky. Well, no, was unlucky to get beat at Epsom. He shaped much better than Blue Surf did, who had the run of the race. So I think Oasis Fantasy will promise to stay as well, and I can see the angle with him. But he's drawn wide, and the other one I thought on form had a great chance. Seymour is also drawn wide, so that's hardly a positive for either. Seymour, I thought, won really well at Haydock with having a lot of these in behind as well in what I thought was a pretty decent race. There weren't too many excuses in behind. The one that was in behind that I could give an excuse to potentially is Gabriel's King, who was drawn wide that day himself. Before then, he ran a really good race in the Chester Cup behind Trip to Paris and behind Trip to Paris as well. At Ripon, that form is obviously very, very strong. I think you can forgive him his run before then, and if you can, then he should be shorter for me. So, in a race, I haven't got a strong fancy, but he's better drawn than the other ones I fancied from a form angle. And I think he's around off a mark of 93. I think there's scope for improvement off that. So, for a yard as well that have a good record in the race, they've had the winner last year. With Angel Gabriel, very, very similar type, who actually ran in both those races at Chester and at Ripon. I think he's the one for me tomorrow. Gabriel's King.
Yeah, it's, as you say, it's a very tricky race to try and get away through, as always with the Northumberland play. That is the last race officially that we will be previewing. We'll have a quick look maybe at the Irish Derby a little bit later on, but there is still time if you would like to get your questions in. Any questions, fancies that you wish, tweet them to @OnTheOtherHoof and we'll read them out right about now. Kai Wills is the first question, and as always, as consistent as gravity. Thanks, Kai. Gospel Choir and Jack Hobbs double lump material.
No.
We weren't overly confident about Gospel Choir.
If he's ready, but I'm not 100% sure.
I think he'll be ready.
He's the best race, but Doveday's one that I'd be more confident about.
I can just see that. I can just see the race turning into a bit of a tactical affair with Doveday out in front. To be honest,
I hope so.
That's what I'm hoping, anyway. Yeah. So no, it's not a lump double. I'm afraid, Kai. He's also asked about Richard of York at Newmarket tomorrow.
Richard of York, he's interesting. He was fourth in a really good handicap at Sandown, and he's coming up against experienced handicap. It's good to see my old friend Mighty Yars back, but I think Richard of York is a progressive type, and he should be winning that. So I'd be disappointed if he wasn't going close in that race. So.
Yeah, it's this time of year when the 3-year-olds get a ton of weight against older horses and always have a huge advantage. So. And there's none of those older horses make any sort of appeal, to be honest. So,
yeah, I've heard a few people tipping up Richard of York, thinking in handicap company is quite a well-handicapped individual. And final question from Kai: chances of Brooch in the Pretty Polly, obviously against Legatissimo, so a tough ask for Brooch.
She's still unbeaten, and she goes there with her chance. I just think Legatissimo back down in trip, which is what I said straight after the Oaks. I thought the mile and a quarter would be ideal for her, and she's clear one to beat in that race. So I think she'll run well, but I think Dermot Weld said he wants a bit of rain for her, so she may not even run. Also, on the topic of Dermot Weld, I don't understand why Forgotten Rules is entered on Sunday. Had a hard enough race in the Ascot Gold Cup on ground he wouldn't let himself down on, and there's a risk if he runs on Sunday he won't let himself down on the ground again, remembering what happened at Ascot. So he'll be a short price. I'd be wanting to take him on.
That Brooch race at the time, I looked at it, I thought, oh, that's a dreadful race. And then, for a Phillies race, and it's already seen 2 Group 2 winners.
That's correction. A Group 2 and a Grade 2 winner.
Grade 2, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I was about to say that. Amazing Maria, obviously back in third, and Tommy Stack had Waltzing Matilda, who went over to Belmont and won a Grade 2 somehow with Waltzing Maria. But he did a good job of that.
As well. Waltzing Matilda's in pole as well. Yeah.
It's a staggering bit of form to come out of that race that, as Callum said at the time, I thought was a pretty poor race as well, with Brooch the only one to take out of it to go forward, but that form has been franked on quite a few fronts.
Just quickly,
KJ has...
on Amazing,
Oh, yeah.
just quickly, on Amazing Maria, it was brilliant to see her come back to her best at Ascot. I was really impressed to see her do that. That's what I thought she threatened to do as a 2-year-old, and that's what I was hoping she was going to do in last year's 1,000 Guineas, but she didn't get the chance to, and last season was just a complete write-off. If she keeps going the right way, I think she's still exciting, and the Falmouth could even be her next target, so... Yeah, I think she's still got more to come. So yeah.
It wasn't brilliant to see her win at Royal Ascot because I really wanted her to turn up in the Hunt Cup and to win a Group 2 like that for a mark of 100. I think she was an absolute certainty.
Well, I wanted Temptress to run in the Group 2. She ran in the Hunt Cup, and I thought she was one of the best handicapped horses of the week with Manasseh, and she got done on the line by GM Hopkins.
Yeah. Just a side note, Callum, did you back GM Hopkins?
Did I?
Okay.
I'd have sworn that if it went live.
I had a rare thing last week at Royal Ascot. In both the mile handicaps, I backed horses that you wouldn't have been shocked if they ran in national hunt races, because poor old Capplepath was pulled up, and Sparkplug in the final furlong tipped heels and fell.
We could say here on the other hoof, one of our favourite terms, you Adam Webbed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you Adam Webbed it hard. KJ, we'll go on to your question now, KJ. Who do you fancy in a competitive railway stakes? Stiff 7 furlongs too far, bizarre one. Not in the railway stakes, we'll mention that bit. Is Jack Hobbs the banker that he looks? We'll start with Jack Hobbs. At the prices, I wouldn't be backing Jack Hobbs personally.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I want to see him win. Because he's the most exciting horse.
He just wins, okay? He just wins.
Okay, right. Callum's answered that for us. Callum, you mentioned a bit earlier on about Zarwan. Is a stiff 7 furlongs too far for Zarwan?
Too far?
Yeah, I don't get that. He's coming back in trip, isn't he?
Yeah. No, it's not too far.
I have a feeling that KJ's got him confused with another horse here.
Yeah.
KJ's been convinced that he wants to come back in trip for a while. He's been convinced that maybe that's why they went for the Wokingham rather than the Hunt Cup with him, and he got pulled out at the last minute. So
I think it's too far.
I think I'm not 100% sure about that one. And the railway stakes. Thoughts on that, guys?
Logout Island and.
I like.
What did you say, Callum?
I like Argentero.
He is interesting. I like him as well, but. Logout Island.
Still convinced that round 2 form is decent. Sorry,
to be fair though, round 2 has been getting plenty of form boosts, and I was reading a comment about round 2. Kerry Manning asked him to go. He picked up for 3 or 4 strides and then stopped. There was something not right with him at Royal Ascot.
Round essentially. I thought it might be a bit too quick for him. I don't
know. I'll take both of you on with Rockaway Valley, who ran behind Air Force Blue on debut, pushed Air Force Blue quite close, and then went one better last time out on only his second appearance. Won by 4.5 lengths, beating a few nice horses in behind. So I'd take Rockaway Valley to continue the improvement. Interesting that Logout Island has gone over to Ireland so soon after his Royal Ascot exploits. But at least between us, we've got 3 out of the 5 covered.
Yeah.
Good work, guys. And I have to say, well, as long as if we were there and we were doing a play spot, I'd be pretty confident that we'd get through that round.
Oh, you'd hope so.
It's the last leg as well, so we'd already be out. It's cool. Sam Lovell, the next tweet in. Off to Newcastle tomorrow. Any fancies for the last 2 races that, of course, we haven't covered? Cheers, guys. Firstly, enjoy your day at Newcastle tomorrow for Northumberland Plate Day. It looks to be a fantastic day of racing on paper. Any fancies for the last 2 races, guys?
No, sorry.
Let me just have a look quickly.
I've had a look here.
I think Jerry the Glover could go well in the last. He ran well last time out behind Mutarakes at Haydock, and the form of that race was frank with Carry On Derrick in the Britannia. I think he could go well in that. It's not a particularly strong race, but if there was one in the last 2, I'd go with him.
Devastating news. I miss San Cassiano winning.
Oh no, your ultimate Cliff Balls. Oh.
Not really ultimate. It's just a horse that I've been waiting for quite a while to come back to a bit of form, and he decided to win at Redcar the other day. Cheers, Royal Ascot. I also missed El Fenix as well because of Royal Ascot.
I didn't, but because I was on a bet, I'd stopped myself from betting after a bad week. He went and won. It was he travelled really well. He hit the front, and then I had visions that he was going to stop because he didn't look the most genuine when he hit the front.
Yeah.
But if he can progress, he'd be good.
I don't care about El Fenix. San Cassiano would be my tip for you from one of the last two races. Anyway, anything, Callum, at all?
No.
No, they're not amazing races, to be honest. I'll give you San Cassiano though. The confidence behind that is not strong. Phil Dinsdale, one of my favourite part of our shows now is Phil Dinsdale's Lucky 15 that he sent in. £1 each way Lucky 15 on Sure Step at 12-1, Lulu the Zulu at 8-1, Clever Cookie at 10-1, and Stop and Linger at 8-1 and the 520 at the Curragh. Clever Cookie looks a weakling for me there.
Also, just to make a note, somebody who'd never watched the show before listened to Phil last time and made a profit. So well done, Phil.
Yeah.
You're getting people into profit just by tweeting us. It's great. Well done.
Yeah.
And the guy put Red Baron in as well, so it was a joint thing. So yeah.
Yeah, Red Baron was horrible value that day, wasn't he, Phil? One more tweet in from Phil as well. Kevin Ryan, unlucky Royal Ascot, mugged more like it. I think someone was backing Kevin Ryan's horses. And Harriet Fuller, not mega fan anymore. She missed another show. Harriet Fuller, she needs to re-earn that status. She says, never doubt the cookie.
I didn't doubt him, but the ground is the concern. That's the thing with a cookie.
I doubt him, I'm afraid. Right, nap time. Adam, who is your nap for tomorrow?
I'm going to go with Code Red.
Code Red, okay. Well, let's put the mockers on that one. Callum Adele.
I'm going to go for Cody Bear at Windsor.
Oh, he's finally back.
Huge favourite of mine. So, honestly, I mean, if he's anywhere near as good as I think he is, then I think he'll win that, even if he's 80% fit.
Can I give you a warning, Callum?
Mm.
You know the naps table. You're 3p in profit.
Yeah, but then after tomorrow, I'll be more.
Let's not read out mine, and Luke, you're miles clear.
Yeah, as I do, you know.
£81.05.
Let's not get this wrong. I'm nothing compared to Value Rater. Let's not get that one wrong. Compared to him, I am just a betting peasant. I'm really disappointed in myself that I haven't now found a horse that starts with Code.
Oh.
I mean, I've Cody Bear, Code Red.
Maybe he'll win.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I apologise to everyone for my nap because it's in the last race of the day, the 9:15 at Doncaster, and then at Rio Ronaldo, who won really nicely at Windsor 2 outings ago with Ryan Moore on board. Not really sure what they were doing with him last time at Leicester. Apparently, he didn't go on the track, but he was entered in the race won by Twilight Sun up at York and was nowhere near to even getting into it. Off a mark of 83, he has to win to get into those kind of races, and he looks at a horse that's a lot better than 83. So he should be winning tomorrow. He's about 2-1, 5-2, 11-4 when he opened even not too long ago. So there has been a bit of support for Rio Ronaldo, as you would expect. Also, any money from that yard is notable as well. But Rio Ronaldo should really be winning the last at Doncaster tomorrow. Thank you, guys.
Oh, quickly, you're not napping your Wokingham winner at Windsor.
No.
What?
That's low.
Well, after it won the Wokingham, like, you're not backing it in a Windsor handicap off the same mark?
I was talking to Tom Stanley earlier, and we were both on Gameson for the Wokingham, and he's good. I'm still convinced Gameson's won the Wokingham. I'm not letting myself believe that he didn't. That hurt.
Honestly, I'd find it so funny if he won tomorrow. I assume you're going to be backing.
Oh yeah, I'll back him. I think he's very well handicapped. But yeah, for win purposes, I think.
What happened then? What was the excuses?
The ground was too lovely, apparently.
I spoke to Andrew Sani after the race, and he said that the ground was too lively for Gameson, which it was very fast at Ascot. But the one thing I said to Adam earlier on, I'm interested to see how he goes after not having a long enough break anyway, because each run he's had a not huge layoff, but more than a month or so. He's only had 7 days, for this layoff. So each time he's run, he has been pretty keen. It'll be interesting to see if that fire is taken out of him early and he can finish off his races. But he's not nap material tomorrow.
I'm sure the first time visored Dutch masterpiece gets a quid as well.
Yeah, he'll get a quid. He'll get a quid each way. He'll get a quid each way.
He was first time visored in a Wokingham and he didn't run, so
He has worn blinkers before in the Abbey. So
oh yeah, when he went off favourite and
Horses galore.
yeah, I know, it's such a cliff horse race. I hate it. It's horrible. Just missing Major Jack now in that race. Then we could have that race by the balls. Right, we should end this before it turns into a fight. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you to Adam. Thank you to Callum. Thank you to myself, of course, as well. Yeah, it's been a long night. Thanks, guys.
no worries.
Callum
Back next week with the eclipse.
Callum was just going to sit there and wait to see if anyone spoke. Just leave it for silence. Otherwise,
I thought you like that. I thought you were leaving like that. So never mind. Go on.
No, that was just done, yeah. Thank you to everyone for tweeting in tonight. It helps the show run a lot better. As Adam says, we'll be back next week to cover the eclipse when we have the exciting Golden Horn, the Derby winner, of course, taking on Newbay, who comes over from France, the French Derby winner, Newbay. So hopefully we should get a good clash next week at Sandown. But for now, enjoy Northumberland Plate Day. Have a good day, whatever you're backing tomorrow. Until next time on the Other Hoof, goodbye.